Hey everyone, nice to be here. I'm going to be moderating the panel today. So first I'd like to invite up our panelists, Leonard Tan, CTO of Web3 Auth, Minh Ho, Head of BD at Coin98, Annabelle Huang, Managing Partner at Amber Group, Udomsak, Rakwongwan, co-founder of FWX, and Jonathan Dunne, CTO of Talisman.
Thanks.
Cool. Hi, everyone. So I think we can start off with a bit of an introduction. So my name's Nich. I'm a research analyst at 1KX, where I focus on middleware research. So everything from wallet infrastructure to developer tooling and data infrastructure. And really excited about this panel today because I think over across the past few cycles, the previous one, we've been kind of talking about the imminent multi-chain future that's happening. I think with this cycle, it's we can all agree that the multi-chain environment is already here, not just with L1s and alternative L1s, but various L2s that is like generic L2s building on things like Ethereum and now more recently Bitcoin L2s, all the way to application-specific blockchains and L3s as well. So yeah, would love to for each panelist to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about your projects.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Leonard from Web3 Auth, CTO of Web3 Auth. Web3 Auth, as the name implies, is a Web3 authentication company. What we do is we build great onboarding experiences. If you're an application and you're trying to onboard mainstream Web2 users to your application, a lot of times it means downloading another wallet or downloading a Chrome extension, them needing to write down seed phrases. We solve all of that just by letting a user create an account and a wallet using things like Google Login, and it's powered by MPC. That's pretty much what we do. We've been around about 5 years. We have 20 million monthly authentications, thousands of dApps, lots of developers, and we support a lot of different chains, not just EVMs, including Solana, Polkadot. Yeah, if you are planning to build a wallet or if you're a dApp looking for great user experience, please try Web3 Auth.
Cool. Hey guys, this is Minh. I'm the head of BD for Coin98. So for some of you that are not familiar with us, we are basically an ecosystem of a lot of like dApps that we built. And we also have like an EVM layer 1 conviction. And we also help projects to expand in Vietnam. We're based in Vietnam. We've been in this space for over 6 years now, since 2017. And yeah, we have over 10 million users on the Coin8 wallet. We also have a lot of like different dApps that utilizing within our ecosystem. And we also have an investment arm that we invest in incubate projects. And yeah, we always try to make more connects with people building in the crypto space. So we'd love to know more about you guys after.
Hi everyone, my name is Annabelle Huang. I'm a managing partner at Amber Group. So we're a crypto market maker that's active both on centralized venues as well as on-chain, which is why now we have to actually navigate the multi-chain universe as the on-chain trading develops. On the other side, we also have a wealth management arm. So we actually try to bridge between DeFi and the traditional finance, traditional investors by wrapping a lot of on-chain products to offer that to our client base, which are mostly institutions or high net worth individuals that are interested in the crypto space. So yeah, happy to be here today.
Hi, my name is Udomsak, but you guys can just call me M. I'm a co-founder of FWX. It's a permissionless leverage trading platform for new tokens like meme coins. So, it's quite degen. So in our platform, if you have tokens, you can provide liquidity in the platform, and then you get leverage trading for the meme coins or new tokens straight away after that. And there's no impermanent loss to the liquidity provider, or the positions are fully hedged on-chain. So, and we are invested by the banks here.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm Jonathan, the CTO at Talisman. We exist in the application layer providing a really rich and usable wallet for primarily the Polkadot ecosystem, where we started life in 2021, building on Substrate and the stack of technologies presented by that kind of set of networks, but also the Ethereum ecosystem, which we expanded into in 2022. So a lot of the kind of challenges around bringing a multi-chain environment and a multi-chain context to thousands of users is kind of the set of problems that we deal with every day at Talisman. And I'm looking forward to talking about that a little bit more today.
Awesome. So my first question is for the application layer projects out there, which is how have your product offerings evolved as we entered the multi-chain environment, and what market environments do you help guide your decisions on which chains to support and which ecosystems to launch into?
I can start. Going multi-chain or maybe kind of Web3 becoming a little bit more interoperable is maybe kind of one factor in a larger trend towards products in the application layer needing to be more robust and less of like a developer tool, but more of a fully fledged product that stands up to anything that exists in Web 2. You really want the product experience in Web 3 to be kind of equal, if not better, than what the predecessors are. So going multi-chain kind of necessitates leaning a little bit more on infrastructure, leaning a little bit more on middleware that you might have had to do previously, where you just kind of instruct your users to like connect to a particular RPC. Really, the expectation is that this is all now taken care of, and that's, I guess, part of this kind of trend of a requirement for us to have a more resilient product and a more resilient application layer. And that's exciting because it means that everyone's leveling up and we're kind of graduating from developer tools and smaller products to something that's really polished.
I actually think it's easier to frame the problem more from like the user journey of the person developing the application. So I think multi-chain as a problem or something you need to solve as an issue is much more relevant for wallets than it is for dApps, because a lot of dApps are often pretty much married to whichever L1 or L2 they choose. At the start, definitely. Later on, maybe they get to go to other chains, but at the start, usually they are married to just one chain, and therefore they don't really need to think about multi-chain, at least not early on. It's the wallets that do, because in order to capture a bunch of people on different chains, as well as to stay competitive, right, as a wallet, you do need to support multiple different chains. And that's what I mean by it's easier framing from that point of view, because as an application, I think very few of them think about multi-chain early on. And that's good in a way. They have less to do, but bad because you build on and take on technical debt. That's a bit harder to undo later on. But definitely we've seen more wallets require and more users who are downloading wallets require multi-chain support. And this also ties into the whole AA narrative, right? Lots of people are building account abstracted wallets, and we know support for that on some chains is very different from other chains. A lot of people try to be EVM compatible, but it's not always exactly one for one. So I think that the core problem stems from state for multi-chain. So you don't really want everyone to be creating a new wallet across every single chain. Then you have to maintain a bunch of wallets. Your assets are all not aggregated. If you want to maybe undo a permission on for a particular application, a particular type of token, now you need to do it on every single chain. So it's really about how you manage state. And there's several schools of thought. The most popular one, popularized by Vitalik, is having all your wallet state be in one chain, like Ethereum L1 or a different L2, and then have the other chains import that state via some kind of ZK proof, but it's really complicated. Another way, which is the one we think is a bit more practical right now, until at least ZK support for this, what Vitalik said, is more robust. Another way is just to use one key, right? One private key, and then have your management layer be split on off-chain things like MPC. So that's the one we push, but we support both. I think eventually it is going to be more well supported. So that's also what we're trying to make it more robust.
Just want to add to that, because I think I really agree with what you're saying, because we also do the wallet as the first thing, right? And for us, we've always been like chain agnostic. Right now we support over 100 chains. And yeah, fully agree on like it's hard to keep up with all the new chains coming on L2, L3s. And yeah, I think for us more about like, how to get the user journeys really smooth. Also onboarding the Web2 user as well. I think the key thing here is that to actually educate the users is also a big part of it, because like what you guys doing on like with social locking stuff is that to onboarding users way easier, but also the key management and how they take care of that once they're ready to move on to DeFi, for example, then they kind of want to take the key and import and export to other stuff, other application level, right? So yeah, I think that we all agree that's what all the application levels should be doing to educating user and, the user know more like, yeah, it's the, multi-chain is actually the future in the past, but now it's actually currently in the state already. So yeah, in present already.
Yeah, I was going to say that we all agree that it is already happening, but from a user perspective, I'm not talking about the crypto native users, but maybe broadly users that could easily be intimidated, right? Basically, you need separate wallets for each L1 or L2. Liquidity is fragmented. So our role as a market maker is actually also to expand our support for multi-chain. So before it was mostly on, centralized exchanges. Then with sort of Uniswap, then we started more active on Ethereum mainnet, then obviously with L2s. And now we support across Osmosis and Cosmos, the Move VM, any sort of new, all the new Ethereum L2 or even Bitcoin L2 as well. So I think largely that is driven by user demand. And a lot of times it's also to support a lot of the more sort of centralized applications that can help abstract away. So maybe it's through Coin98 or through some of the other wallet providers, so that the user themselves don't have to actually run their own node or have their own wallet infrastructure everywhere, because that even to me, who has been in crypto for a while, it can be quite daunting. And let's not even talk about the risks that involve. So I think all our role has evolved, but at the end of the day, it should be about providing easy and safe access.
Well, talking from the app builder perspective, I think most the app builders, we don't think of the multi-chain initially when we build the platform. But the problem is there are more and more chains coming out, and the liquidity is highly fragmented. So I think it's quite important to think about multi-chain from the beginning, because otherwise it will be hard to actually edit like here and there, right? Because it's on the smart contract. So like, for example, at FWX, we are providing the leverage, right, for the meme coins and new tokens, but behind the scene, the protocol itself does the hedging, the full hedge on chain. So it requires a big liquidity to actually hedge all the positions on chain. And when we are only on one chain, it's kind of hard. For example, if you want to trade like one meme coin on one chain, but there's not much liquidity in that chain, is it possible to actually use liquidity from some other chains to facilitate that trading? And if we can do that, we can take like several smart contracts holding the liquidity and let them talk to each other. It's like cross-chain a little bit, like messaging cross-chain, talk to each other. And when you want to do leverage trading on one chain, probably you can use the liquidity on another chain to facilitate the trading, and that will make the multi-chain trading much more efficient, and the liquidity doesn't need to be fragmented. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear what infrastructure or pieces of the stack are you using to aggregate that liquidity? Is it like you're using bridges on the side, like oracles, maybe state proof technologies to do the state verification?
I think nowadays it has been a lot better, but I think that the infrastructure is not there to make us comfortable enough to actually build everything on chain, because the most important part for what I've just talked about is the messaging and bridging. The messaging itself is like we have seen lots of players trying to do like cross-chain messaging, let's say CIP and some other guys, but there's still a delay. And let's, for example, if I trade on one particular chain, right, and I utilize the liquidities or from some other chains, and let's say if the messaging is delayed or it doesn't work for a short while, then the whole thing will be messed up, and it's really hard to fix this whole thing. Another thing is the bridging of the tokens. For earlier players, they usually charge the fees from the amount bridged, and that is not really working for the platform, because like if you want to bridge like from time to time, like these days we have seen the swap, like cross chain swap, right? And that you need to take, it doesn't need it needs the gas from one chain and then the bridger and then the other chain, so it's quite costly. So we should have the liquidity sitting like a buffer between multiple chains, and we use messaging first because messaging is pretty cheap, and then use bridging to actually do settlement after that. I think that's what market makers have been doing on multiple exchanges as well. The only problem is the bridging and the messaging must be stable enough so that we can make sure that we can let it run on chain and it works properly. Yeah, because when it doesn't work, it's a big problem.
Let's. Cool. So I wanted to, you briefly touched on user education, and I wanted to touch on like user experience as a whole a little bit in the multi-chain universe. So over the past few years, we've been still operating on a paradigm of, users having to onboard to Web3 by downloading first an EOA wallet and then be aware of what chains to connect their wallets on the dApps that they're visiting, and then also keeping track of which assets they have on which chains. So curious to hear about what your thoughts are on like the future of this. Like, will users still have to be aware of what chain they're on in the future with like multi-chain dApps, or would this be abstracted away and they don't even have to think about even bridging anymore as the end user application, but instead there's some solver layer to kind of aggregate their liquidity for them to perform actions on a chain that they don't have an existing identity or wallet on yet?
I think go first because so a bit of context, because in the beginning when we first started out, we are like a research-based community in Vietnam, right? So we start with education first, but then we start building product in like 2019 with a wallet first. It's always like a struggle to keep up with all the things with the user, to let them know like how they do with the wallet, from like downloading, right, MetaMask, right, is the first thing, and then with all key management and everything. So I think Web3 always fixing that problem. But yeah, I think eventually going to look into the future, we definitely see into like everything is abstract, not just on the wallet side but also on the blockchain side as well. So yeah, we actually see a lot of this with like gaming, where it's like a Web3 gaming, but they don't know about the wallet, they don't know about the chain it's built on. So I think gaming is also interesting to see. And then eventually when we go into like mass adoption, definitely it's something that we're going to be abstract from. And the user, especially Web2 user, they just worry, like they don't have to worry about the gas fee, all that things as well. So yeah, even for us, we're actually trying to do the same thing with our layer 1, where we abstract all the like the gas and all the user onboarding experience. So yeah, we definitely believe in like in the future where we reach that level of adoption, then we don't have user don't have to worry about those things. Yeah.
So I have the way I think about it is it's already kind of solved for trading. So not for dApps, not for like NFTs, but for trading, people use centralized exchanges to solve that. And I'm a bit worried that that's the future we'll head towards. And there are different like paths we can go on. Like one that Polygon is working on called Ag Layer allows you to do multiple transactions on different ZK rollups by aggregating ZK proofs. And that's interesting to me because it's very flexible. It's about state management, which means anything that depends on blockchain state can use that. And it's atomic. One of the problems of bridging and all that is you need to sign like 3 times, right? For a single transaction. Now you can just sign once, so it's better UX. But then that also has higher costs and it needs time for it to be relayed. So there's also some delay. Whereas centralized solutions don't have that problem. So I think if I were to just apply statistically what we've seen, I think there might be some centralized solution that kind of just is that good UX layer they talk about. And then during settlement, right, then they do the cross-chain stuff. And I think that is probably going to be, at least with how ZK proofs are, how expensive they are right now, I think that's probably going to be what wins out, just based on what you've seen with centralized exchanges. I do think multi-chain as a whole is really just about settling all these like cross-chain liquidity problems. And yeah, until we find a better way, ACK layer is maybe one way, it's probably going to be quite centralized.
Another comparison to where moving from like a single chain context to a multi-chain context is like easier and harder is in the wallet versus in the dApps in the browser, where one of the first decisions we made at Talisman was to totally remove the idea of an active network. We have to support like 150 plus networks. It doesn't make sense to kind of share that complexity with the user. So it's not a concept that exists inside of the wallet. The user just kind of exists within a multi-chain context within the application that we've built. But when you go to connect to like a dApp that conforms to the Ethereum like injected object, like that expects the wallet to provide a network. And it's quite hard to change that because it's kind of embedded in the tools and in the ways in which dApps kind of interoperate with wallets at the moment. So there's this kind of embedded network effect that you really need to like unpick or evolve gently to move applications from a single chain context to a multi-chain context. It's tricky, but I think some of the EIPs that are coming out at the moment kind of help lubricate this change. But yeah, there's like this really pragmatic and conventional like software engineering challenge when there's just like an embedded way to kind of communicate between two different products, and it takes time and effort and a little bit of like coordination between everyone in the ecosystem to change these types of things.
Well, I think we have been moving to the wrong direction initially because like we are all like tech guys, right? So we build things for tech guys. So like these days, like in Thailand, we use the money transfer like every day, many times a day. If you go and randomly ask a guy like how the money is transferred, they never know, right? They just click and then it gets there. Right, you never look at the transaction, like where it goes, like, and you can transfer between the 2 banks, the 3 banks, and we don't really know what happens. But in blockchain, like the first thing that you will be teaching people, like how to look at the Etherscan, right, and how our transaction is being processed, right? So I think we need to somehow change the mindset, like to be users rather than the builders, trying to make the application as intuitive as possible, like make sure that they don't actually need to know much about like what blockchain is, what DeFi is, and then they can just use it. And one of the things that we did was we have our own wallet, and inside the wallet is the app is integrated in there, so it's one wallet for one app. So it's like a trading app. So they just come to the wallet, create the account, and then transfer the money in. And we have the catalyst trading. So it's not catalyst. It's like they can select what tokens that they want to pay for the fee. So if they only transfer USDC, they can pick USDC to be the gas. And then when they submit the long order, then the signature, the transaction will be there, and we'll have the bot like executing the order for them. But we take USDT as a fee, but we pay the gas fee for them. So they don't really need to know the fee. They feel the same as using the centralized wallet, but the decentralization remains there.
I would probably rank intuitive product design as like more important than education in many ways, in allowing users to onboard into a multi-chain environment, because we're dealing with people that have the attention span of like 2 seconds when they onboard into a product and want to make a decision. They're not going to read like this long list of educational material about what an Etherscan transaction is and how to kind of pass that information. Like the way in which the products are designed need to infer this kind of subtly and between the lines, and users will educate themselves in the way that they use the products.
I do think some of that problem was inherited from like the limitations of EVM, because now we have new opcodes which are coming out, like auth and auth call. That should solve that gas problem you're talking about. So I think people are getting more aware that like gas, there's also like universal gas tokens now. So they're being more aware that this is definitely one easy low-hanging fruit for UX we should be solving. But yeah, there's still many problems to solve.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the enshrinement of perhaps subpar technical decisions was just, a product of things designs being made by technical people and not UX designers. So the, EIP 11155, for example, kind of made wallets have to be aware of which chain ID they were on, where perhaps that should have been maybe at the RPC layer, but then, that requires a lot of coordination. So part of the challenge is not one team and one product kind of solving everything, but a coordination of different players in the ecosystem. And, couple that with like protocol bureaucratics of like getting everyone to be on the same page is just like a nature of decentralization, I guess. So curious to hear from the wallet perspective, what does the perfect, most seamless UX and user onboarding look like for you in a multi-chain world?
We're in the business of providing like a self-custodied experience at the end of the day. But maybe to onboard into that, you need to like make some concessions to say it's not necessarily a pleasant onboarding experience to be presented with the message that if you lose these 12 words, it's game over. That probably shouldn't be something that user sees in like the second step of onboarding into a wallet or onboarding into like trying to use a particular product. So solutions like Web3 Auth kind of help with this, where maybe we can see some kind of like key rotation pattern emerge in onboarding, where a user might onboard with like a social wallet authenticated via products like you. And at the point where they want to graduate to something that's a little bit more resilient, a little bit more within their control, then they can kind of hot swap that key out for something that's like a hardware wallet or a hot wallet inside of Talisman. This is like both a pleasant onboarding experience. It's resilient in the sense that the user can pick and choose what they want. And it's kind of versatile in that sense as well. Different tools and different products can almost pick and choose the onboarding and the wallet experience that suits themselves and suits their users, whilst also like interoperating with whatever the protocol has defined with kind of key management or like encryption curves, and whatever key pairs are valid on the chain should be valid within this pattern, whilst providing a lot of flexibility in middleware and in the application layer for different products and different users to make the decision that's kind of most suitable to their risk profile at the time.
Yeah, I think that it also depends on the audience, right? The end user. So, for example, I know that we're trying to make the onboarding experience easier, but we're talking about like Web2 user, but like there's some power user that also really want to do their own key things. So for us, our approach really depends on the end user. So we have the products that also like using social login to onboard it easier. But we also, for the Connect wallet itself, also like a self-custody solution. So we also have let the user to also like going on the traditional way of crypto, right? They have their own keys. So it serves different type of user. And I think right now still, because crypto I think still early, and the power user are actually our majority of the user base. So that's why we're still like treating that as the main way to interact with the end user. But let's say 5 years, 10 years from now, maybe that's the change, and we always try to keep up with all the technology to support that.
Question for Web3 Auth. As a dev tool, have you seen any sort of new demands from developers wanting to leverage Web3 Auth that is like a product request feature that helps them tackle the multi-chain environment?
Yes, so a lot of them ask for AA. So previously we would push MPC because that's already natively multi-chain, right? As long as you support the same, even that is not fully multi-chain because different chains use different elliptic curves. But if you share the same elliptic curve, the same one as Ethereum, which is like 95% of chains, then you already have kind of a decent multi-chain solution with an EOA. But then now, so that's what we've been doing for multi-chain. But now with AA, some of them are looking for some of the AA features and trying to marry it together with EOAs. And that's possible with Create too, to have the same account on different ecosystems. But even then, it's not fully supported. And And we've been pushing something like also like what we call like incremental, like more and more self-custodial. So at the start, it's kind of we manage it for you. And then as you graduate, you can have full custody. And one of the solutions we've done recently is one thing that people complain about AAs is that it takes a couple of blocks before it's actually on chain. I can use it. What we do is we just create an AA first, and the whole thing is just run by us via our API calls. And then when you onboard and you want to use the AA, we just say it's yours. It's still under us, but it stays yours. And then when the user interacts, they can use it already. So they can use it to trade meme coins or buy anything. We still do the operations on their behalf, but in the meantime, there's a transaction that is happening that eventually transfers ownership to them. So this way, they get instant usage of that AA wallet, but eventually becomes fully their own, fully custodial, self-custodial. So that's one of the things we've done, but there's no quick and easy answer really. With AA, it actually makes things even more complicated because MPC is just off-chain state. AA has on-chain state, so that makes it really hard to have a good synchronized view across all the different chains.
Right. I think that's what that's the problem that Vitalik was trying to address when he proposed the key store contract architecture, right? Because even though you have multiple AA wallets on different chains, if you change the permissioning of your AA wallet on
so
one,
that actually has one of the biggest flaws, which is permissioning. Yeah. So you in his article, he talks about having all the state on L1 and then all the L2s look to it for updates. But and then his assumption is that updates don't happen that often, but actually they should happen often because you should be rotating your session keys for your devices as often as possible, maybe every 30 minutes when you log out. And you want that revocation to be on the shared state. So it's actually more complicated than that in real life, but it's a good place to start. Yes.
Yeah, I think the key store stuff is still in early days. I think one of our portfolio companies, Safe, experiences this a lot because they're a multi-sig EVM based multi-sig, right? And one of the user requirements for a lot of things like DAOs, treasuries, and power users is that they would like to keep the same address on every chain. But obviously with state drift, it's easy to mess up the permissionings on that and keep track of what keys are allowed to do what. Cool. So we have a little under 3 minutes left. So maybe it's time for a quick wrap up. I think. Just from the perspective of your projects, where do you see the end goal of this multi-chain universe with everything from all L1s to generic L2s to app-specific rollups? If any of you are tackling the L3s and app-specific rollups yet.
That's one that we're doing for the fiction, the EVM layer one that we talk about. So we actually introduced this recently for the we call it worldwide chain. So from the inspired worldwide web, right? So it's worldwide chain, so people can build their own app chain right now and using fiction as either as a sequencer layer or settlement layer or is in as a fiction DA. So that's two approach that we're doing on that end. But going back to the multi-chain side, if you are wallet, for example, we're still supporting multi-chain. And then for other DS, we also always always chain agnostic. So we are trying to best to support all the chain, and especially our thesis about multi-chain has been the same since when we start doing a product is that once you have the user and you have the big enough user base, you kind of want to have your own chain. So you see this with all the even written in thesis from Downmaker or others really popular protocols. And you see this especially with StepN, for example, when they have really huge user base, they're gonna spin up to their own chain. So this is something that we feel gonna be happen more and more once we get more builders coming up to build stuff on Web3. So
I would say from our side, we're shouldering that responsibility or the complexity of dealing with the multi-chain, and we're sort of abstracting that away and centralizing that into the product that we offer directly to our clients who I would say are not as crypto native, so they are fine working with a counterparty or somebody they know in this sense. But on the infrastructure side, that actually requires a lot, even for us to trade efficiently on chain, or even to do the C5 DeFi ARB. A lot of times it's not enough to keep using sort of third-party block builder software solution anymore for efficiency. A lot of times we have to look into running our own nodes, or investing in portfolio companies that specializes in those. So I think the requirement for a lot of these centralized either market makers or sort of yield providers is going to increase, especially also on the security side. I mean, we've seen so many hacks, even in bridges as well. So how do you deal with that? And so for us, while acknowledging the multi-chain future, it's also understanding the additional, work, risk management, et cetera, that has to go into it. And also on the liquidity front, because right now it's still very fragmented. We've seen multiple L2s with very similar solutions. They're just sort of gunning for TVLs. And so how do you also navigate that? And maybe there will be a liquidity aggregation layer, or maybe it is sort of, roll-up aggregation or chain aggregation. But I think we'll have to see where the aggregation plays out, because I think we still need some of that.
Yes, I think our time's up. So I'd like to thank every one of you for joining me on this panel, and hope the audience got something out of it. And yeah, excited to see what's to come.
Good.